You know, China really is a threat. Britain has now found that out again. We've only just heard that police months ago arrested a man for alleged spying, a Scottish man, son of a doctor, spying for China. He'd lived and worked in China for a while and was reportedly told to go back to Britain and spy on two Conservative MPs. One, Tom Tugendhat, the Security Minister, the other, the Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. The man says he's innocent, totally innocent. But the Prime Minister actually raised this with the Chinese Premier at the G20 meeting in India on the weekend. But China has now called the allegations malicious slander. Joining me from London is broadcaster, commentator, all sorts of things, Esther Krakue. Esther, great to see you again. This doesn't sound good at all, but does it surprise you?
It doesn't surprise anyone. The Chinese have, a track record of spying on various nations, so this is not surprising at all. Actually, reports have now shown that 2 people have been arrested. So the Scottish man that you mentioned and the man in England as well, that were arrested for violating the Official Secrets Act. And they've now been released upon bail. But obviously, this is a very serious allegation. And like you said, Rishi Sunak raised it with Li Qiang, who is the Premier, who he saw at G20 this weekend. The reality is, though, that we have to really reevaluate our relationship with China. And James cleverly mentioned that we have to have a pragmatic approach to how we view China. Obviously, we have deep economic ties with the country, and that's something that is not going to go away. He mentioned, they're key in sort of tackling the climate change issue, which I'm less confident about. But the reality is China is not our friend. China is not our ally. China is not anyone's ally. And the fact that they can so brazenly, effectively make contact with a parliamentary researcher to spy on them just shows how desperate they are. I mean, one of the people's in question, one of the people that were arrested, his ties to senior top Tory officials is actually very frightening, because you never know what kind of information he could have leaked back to the CCP. And this is clearly a very desperate party if they have to resort to all these kinds of measures to try and gauge where they are in terms of their relationship with Britain.
Yes, I should stress again, he said he's innocent, so we shall see where that goes. But certainly Britain's been taking it very, very seriously. Esther, this breaks my heart. I'm a classic music buff, and I think you're probably into funkier things than me, being more with the times. But England on Saturday hosted its famous Last Night of the Proms, an annual showcase of popular classical music, which ends each time with the crowd belting out Rule Britannia, waving Union Jacks, but not quite this time, Esther. Have a look. Esther, there were more European Union flags, blue with yellow stars, being waved during Rule Britannia and Brexit Britain. That is sacrilege. How did it happen?
It's borderline sacrilegious. Well, the Last Night of the Proms, unfortunately, has become a political battleground. I don't know if you remember a few years ago during sort of the rise of BLM, the Proms actually wanted to cancel singing Rule Britannia for fear that it would offend people during those politically tense times. And it was only because of an intervention by Boris Johnson that it went ahead, even though it was muted when it did go ahead. So now we've unfortunately seen the politicization of the Proms in full swing. Obviously, you couldn't have people singing Rule Britannia with British flags, because then they'd be accused of being fascist. Actually, if you come to the UK and you try and wave a Union Jack, you may be associated with the likes of Tommy Robinson. So it's not surprising that staunch Remainers use this as an opportunity to wave the EU flags. But the reality is Britain has left the European Union. I don't suspect it will rejoin in my lifetime, assuming the EU still exists in my lifetime. So people are just using this as a
Esther, get out of here. No. Esther Krakue, thank you so much for your time.